Some words, once spoken, cannot be unspoken. Not because they were especially cruel, not because you meant permanent harm, but because they landed in a moment and a shift happened. The air in the room, the ease between two people, the trust that was there a second ago. Perhaps you know these moments, you have lived them from both sides. The words that created distance where closeness had been, the silence that followed, the awareness that the ground had just changed beneath you. Words are not retrieval systems, they cannot be called back. But understanding this gives you knowledge, the kind that changes how you speak next. You may already know which words live permanently in your life, the ones that divided a relationship into before and after, and you may also know which words someone spoke to you that you still carry. Both teach the same thing. Words last, and that lasting gives them a weight worth approaching with care. Being present to the permanence of language, to what that permanence reveals and what it makes possible, is where this reflection begins. We will move through three kinds of permanence together: the word that left in the heat of a moment, the word spoken with deliberate intention, and the honest word that reorganized everything simply by being said. Think of words you may have spoken that you knew, the moment they were in the air, had changed the ground. Maybe they came from pressure that had been building too long. Maybe from pain seeking a way out. Maybe from the simple human need to make someone else understand what you were carrying. You may remember the moment, the release when the words finally came, and then the silence that followed. You watched them land, watched a face change, felt the quality of what settled in the room afterward. What a moment like that can teach you is not that you were wrong or bad. It is that words have power, that they do things, that once given, they begin their own life in the person who received them. And here is what matters about that. This is not about regret. It is about recognition. You may be capable of words that change things, that move through the world creating effects, that reveal what you feel and what you are willing to say when the pressure is high enough. This capacity is human, universal, worth understanding. People have always known this weight, the words spoken in heat that followed someone out of the room and kept following. The truth said in a moment that could not be softened later. That understanding is old. Some words, once given, belong permanently to the person who received them. Presence begins here, in clear seeing about what words do once they leave your mouth. Not to burden you with everything you have ever said, to give you ground to stand on for what you say next. And then there is a different kind of permanence entirely. Think of the words you may have spoken not in heat, but in decision. You knew what you were saying. You may have known what it would do. And you said it because the situation had become a moment that needed language to shift it. The boundary finally named. The truth finally told. The distance that needed creating because closeness had become unsustainable. These words may have done what was needed. They changed the shape of a relationship. They made clarity where there had been confusion. They moved what had been stuck. What cannot be taken back is the speaking. But here is what is equally true. Sometimes words need to be permanent. Sometimes the truth needs to land and stay landed. Sometimes a boundary needs drawing, and the drawing requires language that cannot be misunderstood. Presence deepens when you can look at this without turning away. You may be capable of difficult speech, of saying what needs saying, even when saying it changes everything. This is not a flaw. It is a capacity, one worth understanding and using with care. The words did their work. They are permanent, and you may be living now in the world they helped create. A world that is different, not necessarily worse, different. And difference is information about what matters to you, about where your boundaries actually live, about what you are willing to do to protect what you value. You may be a presence keeper, someone who can look at the words they have spoken with intention and recognize them as evidence of capacity rather than failure. The seeing does not undo what was said, but it shows you what you are made of when the moment requires it. Our ancestors felt this too. A woman who spoke a truth at a family table that no one had named in 20 years. The room went quiet. She did not take it back. A man who finally named the boundary his silence had made invisible. His voice was lower than he expected. His hands were steady. An elder who confessed what had been held for a decade. In the speaking, the tightness she had carried for years finally had room to release. You are in that line now. The words that needed to be permanent have always carried a cost. That cost is the oldest measure of their necessity. But not all words arrive in heat or from deliberate decision. Sometimes the words that cannot be taken back are simply honest. You told someone what you actually thought, what you had been holding, because you knew that once it was said, everything would be different. And you were right. The words were not cruel, they were honest. And honesty, when the moment is right for it, ends some things and begins others. You cannot take this back, not because you were wrong to speak it, but because once certain truths are named, they reorganize everything. The other person now knows what they did not know. You know that you finally said it. The relationship, if it continues with this truth visible. And what was possible before is not what is possible now. This is the particular weight of necessary words. They may have been needed. The words that delivered them are permanent. They did their work, and the work was needed. Words are not breath. They do not dissolve when the air receives them. The words spoken in heat that you may wish had been softer. The words spoken with intention that created necessary distance. The honest words that reorganized a relationship because it needed reorganizing. All of these are still out there, living in people, shaping how they see themselves, how relationships continue or do not continue. This is not meant to weigh you down. It is meant to inform you. You hold real power every time you open your mouth. The power to change things, to create distance or closeness, to speak truth or hold it carefully. This power is worth respecting, worth approaching with awareness. The question is not whether you will speak words that cannot be taken back. You will. The question is whether you will speak them with awareness, whether you will understand, in the moment before they leave your mouth, that what you are about to say will be permanent, that it will live in the other person, that it will change what is possible between you, that it cannot be retrieved once given. The person who pauses before the difficult word, who finds the honest expression that serves the truth without unnecessary harm, who creates distance with clarity rather than cruelty. This is who you may become when you recognize that words are not temporary, that they build and they change, that permanence is the nature of language, and awareness is the tool you have to work with it. That is presence arriving as clarity rather than weight, grounding you, making you present to the full significance of the next words you choose to speak, so that when you speak them, they are the ones that serve what actually needs serving. This offering is part of the Presence Keeper, an invitation to carry the permanence of your words not as a burden, but as the clearest knowledge you have about what language can do, and to speak your next difficult truth with that knowledge held gently in mind. Subscribing is just a gentle way to make sure the next one finds you. Thank you for being here. Your attention gives this moment meaning. I will see you in the next one. Until then, go gently with the words that are forming.